Rotary family time today. We have Lisa Marie or Christy. Would one of you like to let us know what's happening personally within our club?
Yes, thanks, President Tom. So for birthdays, Steve Madden had a birthday yesterday on October 19th, and Casey Martin has a birthday on October 25th. In addition, Leslie today. And then as far as years of service, Randy Gordon is celebrating 17 years of service with Rotary on October 21st. And Andrea Hartley Myers and Amanda Wilson are both celebrating 5 years on October 21st as well.
Great. Thank you very much. So, Ken Flotman, you have a craft talk today. We're looking forward to it. Ken?
Well, thank you. I'm Ken Flotman. My craft here is as a lawyer. I graduated from Vanderbilt 30 years ago this year, but no reunion because of the COVID. And I'm in the process, my news is that I'm in the process of a little COVID-related transition myself. So I am going to have a little more information on that in the near future, but plugging in a few pieces to restart my private practice and some consulting work after being in-house in the healthcare industry as a government contracts lawyer for several years. So other than that, one particular thing I want to work on is planning to start a consultancy for politicians who are involved in filibusters. Basically, how do you take 3 to 5 minutes and stretch it into, say, an hour or so? That's my little joke about taking too much time with the craft talk for the group here. But anyway, it's good to get a second chance to reintroduce myself to everybody, and I will be looking forward to a good year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. We look forward to hearing more about those plans. So, very good. So, Lisa Marie, you know, it's my time to check in with you and ask you something totally off the cuff, and so here it comes. Yeah. So,
in my mouth.
That's
Good.
okay. You know, get a glass of water real quick. So, so what do you think about hockey coming up, Lisa Marie? What do you think about a possible Iceman something coming up? Do you want to
Well, President Tom, I'm so glad you asked.
I figured you would be, right?
I am so glad you asked. So we do have an opportunity. Many of you may have remember back before COVID, we were planning an event in a suite to go see a hockey game. And then COVID came about and squashed all of our plans. And as luck would have it, we still have a significant deposit with the Icemen, and they've reached back out about us taking a look at their schedule of home games for this year. Of course, we have to limit the number of people in suite. We would have had to do that before COVID anyway. And really would like to just get a feel from everybody as to if anybody's interested in going to see a hockey game. We would again be in a suite. So other than the general admission process where people have to wear masks and everything, we would be in our own little area. So would love to be able to send out some dates, but first get a feel from the club as to if that's something anybody would be interested in doing. President Tom, did you want to do a survey, an email? How did you want to measure folks' participation or desire to do that?
Funny that you should mention a survey or a poll, Lisa Marie, unprompted, right? So, so we'll probably do that coming up just to see what sort of interest we can generate. So I think of that that would be what we would do, but not today, because now Patty's going to send us another poll while I continue talking about other things. So everyone pay attention. So it's a simple one, and you can respond accordingly. I wanted to mention for those who weren't able to be with us last week that we had our first live meeting. We were very happy with how things worked out. I think that those of you who were able to join us can, tell everybody what a great job Patty did making all that happen, and how thankful we are that the board let us move forward with those plans, and that past president, Bill, was able to get all of the, whole electronic end of things working so seamlessly, and all I had to do was stand up there and talk a little bit. So it was good. It was all good. So I'd encourage everyone to attend when you can. Hopefully more often than not. And our next meeting next Tuesday will be live. So, and also too, we've got the president of the Downtown Club will be a visitor next week, because word's out on the street on what a great job we did. Jerry will be our guest, so that he can see how turn the Downtown Club live. So see, you didn't know how innovative we were. And I just want to congratulate everyone who made all that happen. So also too, while I'm talking about that, I'm just going to remind you of our live meetings that are coming up. So October 27th, which is next Tuesday, November 3rd, November 10th is Zoom, November 17th is in person, December 1st is in person, December 8th, past President Robert is graciously offering us a holiday luncheon again. Hopefully the current state of world affairs will allow us to do that. We're looking forward to it. December 15th is in person before the holiday break. And so here we go again with the big RSVP prompt, but it's important that you respond so that we know the live things that you are anticipating attending, so that we can do everything we need to do to make it as positive an experience for you as we would like for it to be. So don't forget to do that, RSVP. And I also wanted to let everyone know that Dan and Rosemary Roby are moving to Ohio. So I just want to let you guys know that, because past President Dan's going to be at our meeting next week, in case you want to stop by and wish him well and his family. He and Rosemary are moving on the 11th of November, and they're moving to Ohio, excuse me, where Dan has accepted a position as the chief of pediatric surgery at the Dayton Children's Hospital. So they are lucky to have him. We have been lucky to have them living here, and for all that he's done for our club. And I know that you will want to wish he and Rosemary well. I also want to let you know that the November 9th is our setup for the gingerbread extravaganza at the Historical Society at the St. Andrew's Church downtown. We can always use help. Past District Governor Mike Dara was in charge of this again, and we've done such a good job with it. And what do you think, Mike? About another 10 to 12 people or so minimum, I think, would be a good number. But we're happy to have you if you can participate with that, and we encourage you to do so.
I'd love to help, Mike.
Pardon?
I'd love to help. That'd
be great, Bill. That's great. Yeah, 10 to 12 is a good number, and we will have donuts for 24, along with coffee.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Mike. And I also want to remind you, or probably just let you know, that we'll continue our Zoom meetings at least one time a month. We're not going to be going live every week just yet, and the real reason for that is to keep our costs down. This isn't the year that we need to be raising our dues, and the live meetings and changing the food scenario around is COVID-friendly food service costs more money, and that's pretty much the that's the net on that. And we can talk about that later if we're ready to go live every week. Then we can send out a poll on the reality of how that could happen and what everyone thinks about that. And so also I want, hey Lynn, do you want to talk about our social this coming Thursday, and so we can chat it up and solicit another round of responses we have?
Sure. So yeah, just a reminder that our in-person social is Thursday at River End Post, starting at 5 o'clock.
We absolutely have to know if you are coming by the end of lunch today, so you can send a chat to myself or Patty because our numbers are a little short, so we're trying to make a determination on the outcome of the event. So please, if you are interested, let us know. Just a reminder, it's at River and Post. It's on the rooftop. It's a $20 entrance, and that includes you know, a lot of good hors d'oeuvres and food, a beautiful view, and a drink ticket. And guests are welcome. So sign up. Let us know if you're going to bring a guest as well. But please let us know immediately so we can finalize the event.
Great, thanks, Lynn. Yeah, so we can finalize the event rather than postpone it. So, so yes, if you haven't responded and you'd like to come, please let us know ASAP. You can even do that right now. And I also wanted to remind everyone that the district is having a Vibrant Club seminar this Saturday via Zoom. That's the 24th. It starts at, I think, like 9:30, 9:45. Is that right, Mike? Yes, we hope something like that. I think Rich said 9, right?
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
9. Okay, so yeah, so much for being fashionably late. 9 o'clock, and I think that it's going to run about 3 hours. There's a couple of sessions, lots of new ideas, a couple of innovative speakers, and we're also able to celebrate accomplishments. Past President B will be attending, and I would encourage everyone who would like to attend to do that, because our club will be recognized for for all of the things that we were able to accomplish last year. So so that's this Saturday at 9 o'clock. So hey Patty, are you gonna? Did you send that poll yet?
Yes.
Yes. Did I miss that? Tom missed that. Okay, good. That's because I was busily going through my agenda. Great.
Okay.
All right. So, hey, is Rick Morales here? Has anybody seen that?
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
No visitors
Okay.
or guests.
What'd you say?
No, there's no visitors or guests today.
Okay. Well, so you want to just like play the song anyway? We'll just breeze right by that, because we're looking forward to Mike being able to play the piano so we can all participate. Go. I always feel like I should.
Great job last week singing that, by the way.
I know, that's because we had a nice cue, so we could get the get the note just right. Yeah. So we're still looking forward to Mike being able to play the piano when he can on that. Although I'll have to say I think I'll miss that little video. So, past President Jason Burnett, would you like to introduce our speaker today?
Absolutely. Very excited to hear from Sean Mulholland today of Mulholland Investigation and Computer Forensics. Many of you may know Sean, hopefully for good reasons. He opened up his business here in Jacksonville in 1997. Prior to that, he was a sergeant with NYPD, where he worked on the Tactical Patrol Force, Street Crime Unit, and the Confidential Investigator for the First Deputy. Would love to hear what that was about. But anyway, Sean is a certified legal investigator, fraud examiner, and protection professional. So he does insurance claims, malpractice claims, corporate risk management. And today he's going to be talking to us about a very hot topic that I'm sure is impacted, or you've certainly heard of somebody impacted by cybersecurity. And he will I assume, take questions later. So you could ask a question like I would have, that if my wife looked at my computer and saw emails, could he help verify that I've been hacked by Russia and it's part of a disinformation campaign? So with that, Sean, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jason. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for allowing me to condense this 2-hour presentation into 20 minutes. and leave a few minutes for questions at the end. One of the things about Zoom is I'm not used to sitting down to present. I hope it doesn't cause a problem, but I do have khakis on, so that's not a concern there. Great to have so many friends in that Southside Club. I've been a member of the Downtown Club now 27 years, and certainly we enjoy the relationship we have with you folks at Southside. I'm sorry to hear that you're moving away from my good friend Anthony Candelino's facility at River City Brewing, but everything has changed. I certainly understand. I'm going to run through a quick PowerPoint. Patty, is that something that I can do here?
Yes, I'll share. I'll make you a co-host, Sean. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Earlier.
My millennial son showed me how to do this, and I've done it several times, so hopefully it works.
Yeah, it'll work. Let's see.
What I'm going to try and do today is to give you a touch on many different aspects of how things have changed and how we've kind of got to where we are with cybersecurity being such a concern. And some of the statistics are kind of staggering. And I don't like using statistics, but when you start talking about things like social media and malware and things like that, some of you will be shocked to see how pervasive it's become. Tell me when you're ready, Patty.
Okay, I'll let you know. Sorry. There we go. Okay, you should be good.
Okay. How about that? Okay, that's where we ought to start. One of the quick agenda, that introduction was already taken care of. I'm going to talk about how we got to this current dilemma. What are the perpetrators or the hackers' intent? What are they looking for? Some of the things that are real egregious indicators that you may have been hacked and ways to prevent it, and certainly allow some time for questions. This is really not a technical issue, in my personal opinion. It's a human issue. And one of the real things that we have to think about is that our culture has become a culture of convenience. And one of the things to think about there is just how many convenience stores we now have in North Florida. We are a culture of convenience. We're a people that just avoid friction and like things that are courteous and smooth. And I tease with my wife, doesn't like to buy cars, doesn't like to haggle about prices. You talk about opposites attracting, that's the two of us. But the other thing too, that people mistake compliance for security. And there's a distinct difference between the two. And the last thing that I like to really talk about is we're trusting people. We trust when somebody sends us a photo. We trust when somebody sends us an email. And that's really what we've got to really work on if we're going to address cybersecurity and try and change it. I wonder if I can, yeah, good, okay. One of the things that's happened now is there's a convergence of two factors that have really got us to where we are today. One of the things is the cost of data storage. And I like to used to fly these in, but I put them all up together. In 2002, if you wanted a terabyte of storage, it would cost you $32,000, roughly $32 a gigabyte. And if we jump right down to the bottom today, you can buy a terabyte storage device. And this, incredibly, I need to update. You can now buy a terabyte of storage for $59. So it's roughly, it's pennies now to store vast amounts of data. A terabyte of data will store all the libraries of Florida, Florida State, Miami, UCF. A terabyte is a vast amount of data, soon to be passed by a petabyte, which is the next thing. Now, the next thing that's occurred is the speed of processing data. From the beginning of time, 50, 60 years ago, when they started measuring these things, the speed of how we process data that's in storage has just multiplied 1 trillion-fold. And now this is a cyber criminal's dream, because guess what? If they want to check your password, if they can search, and again, I tried to find the actual number, but it's a fraction of a second, and I thought 3 seconds was a little bit more understandable. But if I can search every word in the Webster's dictionary, if you've used one of those as a password in 3 seconds, you see how quickly I can search just vast amounts of data for information. This is the other thing that's changing our world. And this stat, I think, is even out of date also. 2.7 billion people, smartphone. By 2025, 5 billion people will have in the world will have a smartphone. 2/3 of the people access the internet on their phone. 3/4 of people. You look up health information. And now with COVID, telemedicine is soon to become commonplace, where it used to be dermatologists and other people. You can take a picture of your child's throat and see if they have strep, but this is certainly now going to become much more pervasive. Online banking, I still don't understand how you take a picture of a check and hit a button and it deposits that check, but somebody's going to educate me about that one day. Zillow. Anybody here familiar with Zillow? You can look up information about Zillow, and it's just incredible what's available, what the taxes are on the property, the school district. It's just the last time it sold, the last 5 times it sold, and guess what? It's free. And most people that are checking on real estate or looking for an apartment or a new house using their smartphone. How about jobs? If you're job searching, 43% of people looking for a job are using their phone. I didn't want to really spend a lot of time on social media, but this is some things that we need to think about. 2.45 billion active users. This, I think people aren't aware of. 85% of the people who are using Facebook are outside of the United States and Canada. LinkedIn is an interesting dynamic because LinkedIn is a business. LinkedIn is being hacked more than Facebook because LinkedIn is a business networking venue, and the hackers are starting to realize there's better targets there than there are anyplace. Largest online, again, 200 countries and territories that they have users. Twitter is, again, 330 million monthly active users, 500 million tweets. And I guess that was probably a month ago, so it's probably higher than that now. And again, we go back to these cell phones or these portable computers that we now carry around in our purse or in our wallet or in our back pocket. YouTube is my favorite. More than 5 billion videos are watched every day on YouTube. And I find YouTube fantastic because you can repair literally anything, from your lawnmower to your leaf blower to your stove. You can find 17, 20, 50, 1,000 people showing you a better way to do it. One of the interesting things about YouTube that people don't realize, it is the largest repository of music in the world. My daughter got married. Dad, we want the band to play some of you and Mom's music. How do we do that? Go to YouTube. YouTube has Frank Sinatra, Snoop Dogg, Beethoven, and concerts that you all around the world. But the videos, and how about it? This is interesting. It's not a mistake. 300 hours of video uploaded to the platform every minute. If you wanted to watch what was uploaded yesterday, it would take you 16 years to watch the single day of uploads. This is just a new place. This is going to, and again, advertising. If you want to advertise your service or your business or a product or something you do, it's soon to, they're really becoming a real medium for advertising. Data breaches. 1.5 million data breaches every hour. There are data breaches, and again, what we're going to get to, people don't realize the breaches that are occurring. Malware samples are being created by hackers, just incredible vast numbers. And what's happening is they're morphing. They're developing these malware samples so that when they find resistance, they change. And they're using artificial intelligence and machine learning to get these malware samples to be more effective. Small number of them are ever detected. And again, almost all of data compromises or hacking or breaches are tied to malware. What are these hackers really after? And some of it is basic. They want your identity. They have your identity. It leads to our money. Really, these are people that have financial motivation. But interestingly enough, certainly intellectual property, what we don't realize is the secrets that every single business, whether it be a law firm, an investigative firm, or somebody that's doing research in or medical Mayo Clinic kind of research, everybody has intellectual property of some value. And this is the most important thing. What these hackers are really focusing on now is a term called a botnet. And a botnet is really an opportunity to use your machine undetected. So if they really I don't have a whole lot of assets. I have some confidential information, but what they really want is to use my computer to get to my clients. So the clients that I have tremendous amount of sensitive information. So to use my machine, which is frequently accessing clients, as a conduit to get to much more valuable and much more sensitive. How are victims selected? And this is interesting too. Target is based more on opportunity than choice. Most victims, so the majority, are not, they call phishing and spear phishing, and they've got names. If they want to target some high wealth individual, they can do that. But the majority of people are found because they have exploitable weaknesses in their systems. And that's a real challenge. I'm going to show you a couple of examples here of things that we should be on the lookout for. And the people on Zoom, I guess everybody's on Zoom, so people may be able to see this a little bit better than if it was up on a small screen. What does a spoofed email look like? Well, there's some interesting things that we should be conscious of. And going back to my first slide about human nature and convenience, and this being a human issue, people don't want to take the time to look and see with the detail that's necessary. One of the first things you look at the very top, PayPal. It says PayPals. It's not PayPals, it's PayPal. So something as simple as that S should be an indicator. This is not a legitimate email. It's incorrectly spelled. The other thing too, a generic email, hello customer at whatever your email address may be. If this is somebody telling you your account has been breached or that you need to change your password, shouldn't they know your name? And then they go, dear customer, right away, red flag. If you're getting an email and it's supposed to be from Patty, it shouldn't say, dear fellow, well, maybe it could say, dear fellow Southjax-Rotary. But again, it's something to be conscious of, to think about. One of the things, if nothing else, that you learned today is the simple hovering of your mouse, of your cursor, taking your mouse and hovering it above the address will bring up this box, which should show you that the address that the email is sent from is the same when you hover your cursor. If they're not the same, it's obviously an attempt to send you an email that may have malicious or malware attached. So simply hovering your cursor, whether it be a hand or a heart or an arrow, over the email address that somebody sent you something from, or the next slide I'll show you about attachment, but it shows you how things are different. And even here, what the red highlighted is, the domain for PayPal is .co.uk, not .com/UK. So it's simple differences, and it may take 30 seconds. It may take, I got 100 emails a day. This is inconvenient. Yes, it is. But it is exactly what we need to think about if we're going to address or make ourselves more cyber secure. Attachments. Attachments are the way they can get you. They can get you through an attachment or clicking on a link. But how do we know if an attachment is legitimate? The same thing. And this is pretty nice in this Zoom format, because if you get an attachment, and certainly we have a lot of my friends in your audience today are attorneys, the courts now have electronic filing of complaints, electronic process serving. So this has become very, very common in the judicial environment. So you get an attachment, and it's a copy of a document, and you may be even expecting it. but simply hovering your cursor over the link, over the document, you see the difference. This is a document July 30th, 2014. This is copy of document SER 2005 zip. They're different. Let me tell you another very important thing. Look at the bottom right on the screen and see the extension, EXE. It should say SOS, or it should say danger. That's an executable file. If you were to click on that file, on that attachment, with that EXE attachment, it could execute malware or spyware or malicious code into your system. If not, I know I'm telling you nothing else several times, but that's a danger. The EXE is danger. It's an executable file. Okay, how about, here's something we should think about often also. This is a FBI utilized acronym, MNPI, Material Non-Public Information. These are conversations held between high-level executives, minutes from a board meeting, and these things are not public. But guess what? The cyber criminals really now realize if we can hack into these sensitive MNPI documents from publicly traded companies, it's easy, it's insider trading, but we don't need somebody on the inside. We can learn about a purchase or a merger or a termination or some very important thing that's going to happen in a publicly traded company by this hacking into material non-public information. So it's become a big concern for the FBI about people affecting stock prices and commodity prices by hacking. Everybody's heard of ransomware? Excuse me 1 second. Ransomware is pervasive. People they get into your system, whether you clicked on an attachment, whether you clicked on a link, whether you opened an email, whatever transpired, they now have put a encryption tool into your system. So your files are now encrypted. Well, one way to get around that is to have good backups, but the backups have to be remote. They have to not be on your network. I've had several clients call me, oh, we got good backups. Well, they look and they see that the encryption has prevented the access to the backups that are on your existing network. If they're in the cloud, even at home, something to think about at home. Back up your system onto one of those 1 terabyte hard drives. Simple process. Once you back it up, disconnect it. So now if somebody hacks your computer or loads up ransomware on your computer, all of your photos, all of your sentimental items, videos, whatever it may be, are on that hard drive that wasn't on your system. So that's just a simple layman's way to think about the fact that you're backing up off in a unconnected manner. And ransomware, this Bitcoin, the FBI and the Secret Service are trying to find ways to identify the users, and they have not had much success to date. So it has gives people anonymity. This is just one example of what kind of impact cyber breach could have. Everybody's familiar with Target. And the funny joke that somebody said is, why wasn't Walmart hacked? Because they're not a Target. Okay, sorry. $1.9 billion in remediation cost. Obviously, the company had the ability with some insurance to come up with that kind of interesting thing. But on the human side, the CEO, who I'm sure had a very high-paying job, the chief information officer, their chief information person, and their chief security officer all lost their positions. It'd be tough to find a job if you went back to your last person for a recommendation, they asked why. Let's walk through some quick things, and many of these things you've heard before, but you can't hear them enough. Click on link, don't click on links, and especially if you're not certain who they're from. And again, one of the things I skipped over a little bit, one of the things that's very inconvenient is confirmation. Hey, Patty, did you send me this link? Yeah, I sent it to you, Sean. It was something related to your presentation. Fine. It's inconvenient. It takes time to verify. But again, it's worth it if you don't want to have your system held ransom. Photos and videos, very common. The dancing cats and watch what this dog does. People embed, and it's very easy because photos and videos are large files, and it's very easy to embed malware or malicious code into a photo or video. And these are sophisticated cyber criminals. They know people are likely and what you're likely to click on. These are things that go on all the time. I lost my wallet. I lost my passport. Please send me some money. My son got one. He went to Bishop Kinney and played basketball for Coach Buckley. And he called me and he said, "Hey, Dad, Coach Buckley lost his luggage in London and he needs me to send him $100. I said, "Call him." "Oh, he lost his phone. He's in London." And I said, "Call him." So he called him, and fortunately, not many of the kids fell for this easy and very vulnerable group of young kids that would have done anything for their coach. You're a winner. You won the lottery in Jamaica. Jamaica doesn't have a lottery. But again, these people wouldn't do these things if they weren't successful. Let's talk about some recommendations of things we should do. This has got to be very much like physical security. A layered approach is much better than one thing. Certainly a firewall is good. Certainly there are other things that are good. But the one thing that's really very important is perpetual training, is to continue to train people. These things that I'm telling you today are not very sophisticated, high-level technical things, but these are things that have to be part of training repeatedly. We all know the more people are trained, the more likely they are. Network segmentation is easy. If, in fact, the place where you're doing your banking and your payroll shouldn't be the same place where you're surfing the internet. And certainly depending on the size of your company, if you have the ability to segment certain functions, payroll, accounting should be on a different computer than you're storing sensitive client information, so that if someone were to breach one part of it, they wouldn't have access to all of your data. This is an interesting term that everybody's going to become much more familiar with. Penetration testing is the ability to see where the weaknesses are in your network, and it's part of a vulnerability assessment. What are our vulnerabilities? Where are we weak? Where are we strong? Where could we be better? And again, this is another thing that's become a very good tool. At one time, it was called two-factor authentication, and now they're referring to multi-factor authentication. This is something that most of you must be common with. You'll log on to a site, and it'll say, "We want to confirm this is you. We're going to send you a code to your cell phone." Recognizing how many billions of people have cell phones, they sent you a code, and now they enter. Can it be breached? Can it be overcome? Yes, it can. But again, this is an opportunity to make it. And is it inconvenient? Yes, it is inconvenient. But it is a very, very effective tool for logging onto networks, logging onto sensitive information, wiring money. If anybody's wiring money, I can't tell you how many clients I have who have wired money only to find out they wired it to a hacker or a malicious actor. This is funny because I talked about, instead of a password, a passphrase. And I got 18 characters, no birthdays, and I got beat up by a very good colleague of mine that said we need to get away from passwords and passphrases. And something that's out there, and again, it's not a simple usage, but it's getting to be simpler, is a password manager. Hopefully some people are using them. You can go to pcmag.com and they tell you all about password managers. And many of them are free. And well, if you put all your passwords on one tool, what if they hack it? Well, interestingly enough, all of your passwords are going to be encrypted, and so is the access to these password managers. But this password manager will repeatedly change your password for you, and instead of an 18 character, they're using 150 characters, which are very difficult to hack. So think seriously about looking into or researching a password manager. Few other things. There's a thing called the least privileges principle. And again, it'll take a little bit of time in your organization, but everybody shouldn't have access to everything. If you've got an accounting function, there's the bookkeeping people and accounting people that should have access. Obviously, the CEO and the partner or the owner of the business, they should have access. But if somebody's a salesperson, they shouldn't have access to payroll data. And based on job function, position, and even potential, if you're doing research or development, or you're sending a proposal to a new client, it should be limited. It should be encrypted. It should be protected. And so this least privileges principle is an old principle, but it's something that can really make yourself much more secure. When we have a big problem when employees leave, I'm getting ready to terminate this person. What should I do? Well, have you stopped their access to the data or to the network? Oh, no, we need to do that. Have you taken their passwords, changed their passwords? Oh. But the other thing too is frequently we see clients that take one person's computer and give it to another. Well, that's just not good practice, because there's, first of all, there could be all kinds of bad things on that machine. The machine should be wiped clean, and all of the connected devices should be inspected and then reloaded in the software. So something as simple as a termination. I'm going to wrap up and hopefully leave some time for some questions. ESI, electronically stored information. It's ingrained in our lives. It is part of our daily lives, from buying coffee to putting gasoline in our car to banking to health. All of these things now are part of electronic. And again, we shouldn't underestimate the benefit of continuous training and vulnerability assessments. Being proactive makes you less likely to be a target. And some simple steps, again, they're casting a wide net, hoping to get as many people in the net as they can, and looking for vulnerabilities. So, okay, I'm gonna stop this share. And I don't know how you'd like to, questions, if any way, shape, or form, I'd be more than happy.
Okay, no questions from anyone?
Warner Webb has a question. He wants to know, should we never download a picture?
Well, one of the things we should be very concerned, we should never download a picture from somebody we don't know. So if you've got your daughter is sending you pictures of the kids, there's a good chance that those pictures are going to be legitimate, and you're expecting them. She had a birthday, she had an event, but we should be much more conscious of downloading pictures from people we don't know, and be much more suspicious.
So also, Sean, that was sort of mind-blowing to think that the password managers have passwords that are 150 characters. That's that would seem to indicate that we should all be moving toward password managers, eh? I
Yes.
mean, definitely professionally, but even personally, huh?
And again, if we do a little research, you'll see, and I have to admit, I'm kind of negligent myself. Getting them set up takes a little bit of time, but once they're set up, they're just easy to use. You log on to Facebook and it'll come up. Do you want to use this password, or do you want me to change it for you? And again, it changes the password. So now your password on Facebook could change 5 times in a day with very little effort on our part. And again, the more sophisticated ones have a little bit of a cost associated with them, but they're as little as $25 a month. But it's an opportunity for us to make ourselves a tougher target.
Mike Darrow wants to know, is there another bad extension on a document other than EXE?
Well, EXE is the extension that's most recognizable for an executable file. So that's a real red flag. And somebody might send you something that you need to execute. You need to download this document. Might be even loading Zoom. To load Zoom, you might have executed it to put it on your machine. The other thing to be conscious of is ones that don't fit. Should it be .com? Should it be .gov? Should it be .edu? UNF.edu. Why does it say UNF.com? So, Mike, that's more of the advice as far as extensions, is to think about, is that out of place? And that's what we need to do more of.
And Dean Scott wants to know, are free malware products such as Spybot worthwhile?
One of the things, can I recommend a virus protection? And again, I can't, and I don't. But one of the things that you need to do is to keep them up to date. If you have McAfee, or if you've got AVG, or some of all of them have benefits. Some people use more than one. And one of the challenges, more than one slows your system down. So you have to be conscious of that. And again, depending on how big your organization is or working at home. One of the interesting things I would do before I downloaded one was go to pcmag.com or go to Google and look for ratings before I downloaded one and wasn't sure about it. One of the interesting things is, as we know, every day they're trying to hack and breach somebody. And, JP Morgan and people have, one of the very large law firms in California just suffered ransomware. I was going to tease Harlan Boss. Harlan paid $1 million to get his data back. We didn't realize that the custom Margot business was that good. But, and I'm teasing. Harlan's a good friend. But one of the things that I would recommend before we downloaded any type of program is to do a little research.
Mike Darrow wants to know, does just opening an email without an attachment expose anyone to risk?
Obviously, turning on your computer exposes you to risk. So, Mike, if you're not clicking on an attachment, or if you're not clicking on a link, obviously a whole lot less. And again, my answer to that is almost a little bit redundant. Is this one you're expecting, or is this from somebody? And the whole idea is the volume of spam. And I've got spam filters on top of spam filters, and I get 100 a day. And again, I guess I could probably turn it a little higher, but I don't want to miss emails from people. But again, it's something that what we're trying to do with training like this is to raise awareness and consciousness that it's not just easy is good, but easy is also dangerous. And the fact that we take a little time to be a little more conscientious will make the hacker's job a whole lot harder.
And can you tell us one of your favorite stories from working for NYPD? That's Jason Burnett.
One of the nicest guys I ever guarded was I'll tell you a funny story. They had a bicentennial in 1986 in New York Harbor, and I got assigned to guard President Reagan's helicopter. And it actually was his backup helicopter, but he landed on this island, and I had a midnight shift from midnight till 8 in the morning with 10 police officers under my command. And all of a sudden I hear somebody whistle. And one of the first things they taught you in a police academy, people whistle for their dogs, not for police officers. So I ignored it. And then I heard, hey, and I looked up, and it was the commander, the pilot, who was a colonel, on the steps of the helicopter. And he saluted me and waved me over. And I'm like, oh no, one of my guys fell asleep, or one of my guys has done something silly. He said, no, come on in. And I'm like, I can't come in there. It's the president's helicopter. Come on in. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. So I came in, and he said, sit down right there. It was Reagan's seat. And I'm like, no, this is a joke. Somebody's setting me up here, because the cops are always playing games on guys. But I sat down, and then he said, right there, jelly beans, help yourself. Obviously pre-COVID, but I had one of Reagan's black jelly beans. So that was a good story. And I couldn't tell anybody that story until I left, because I probably would have got fired. But there were a lot of good times, a lot of sad times, but it was a great place to work. Matter of fact, I'm scheduled to go see my mom, whose 89th birthday is coming up on Halloween. But I started reading the regulations on JetBlue. I'm not so sure I want to fly. You gotta, there's some talk that I've got to quarantine when I get there. But hold on a second, I want to visit relatives. But anyway, so it's a challenge to travel still.
Very, very good. That was a funny story. Anybody else have any questions for Sean? Last chance. Thank you very much, Sean. That was very well done.
Thank you very much.
I think everybody can walk away from this having learned quite a bit, actually. And we would like to thank you by making a contribution in your honor to the Rotary Foundation to End Polio. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you one thing that you folks, just to add. My father had polio. My father walked with a 7-pound metal brace his whole life, and actually passed several physical fitness tests when they challenged him for positions in New York. He was a probation officer. They said he couldn't get over the wall, and he proved them wrong. But anytime anybody mentions polio, and that's one of the reasons I'm very happy to be part of Rotary, it certainly was part of my family for many years.
Well,
Thank you.
It's our pleasure, and I think that it's stories like that that can make it so much more real for people here in this country. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much. I'd like to also thank Richard and Mary Alice and Lisa Marie and Ken and Lynn and Jason for letting our meeting be as successful as it was today. And I wanted to remind you, next week, October 27th, we'll be live and in person at Southside Baptist Church in their fellowship hall again, and we'll be having Rick Mullaney as our guest speaker then. So be sure and mark your calendars, be sure and RSVP for everything that's posted on DACDB and any other notice you might get from Patty. And I'll just say again that November 3rd is an in-person meeting. November 10th, we're on Zoom. November 17th, we're in person again. December 1st, we're in person. December 8th is at past President Robert Harris's home for our holiday luncheon. And then December 15th is in person. So log them all down. So as we end our meeting, please join me in our Rotary motto: service above self, one profits most, who serves best. See you next week. Have a good week.